Good afternoon, Commissioner. Thanks for coming in today.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Beautiful day.
Yes, sir. All right, so give us an update. You've been on the job now for about a year and a half. Is that somewhere
Oh,
there?
no.
Not quite that long, huh?
About 8 months.
Okay. I'm sorry. I couldn't remember exactly when the appointment was done, but it was a few months into the governor's term. Yeah, I should remember that. So, and, of course, the Department of Corrections seems like was in the news quite a bit, but less or so now, and I hope that means because we've made lots of improvements under your watch, you might want to discuss some of that with our audience.
Well, we have. It's kind of shotgun approach because medical's giving us a little bit of the blues now, but we worked that out. We have purchased 3 ambulances. They didn't have any ambulances that operated when I got here, none. And so we've got that going now. Our first one will be on board. It'll be at CMCF so we can move people to the infirmary. It's kind of like, who would have thought you don't need an ambulance?
Yeah.
But anyway, all that's being taken care of. It's a little bit slow. We got the gangs on the run, I hope, pretty good. I got some more leaving next week to go to Colorado, so we'll have some more leaders there. We've moved out about 130, about 30 gang leaders to different states and let them live there for a while, pretty good long while. And so we kind of cutting the head off the snake. He's still wiggling, though, so we're working on it. But anyway, that's a good thing, and we determined to get rid of them, and so we will. But we replace them with something good and something, more programs and so forth that people can belong to. So that's all good. So we just kind of all over the board, but it's really cool. We got some good legislation. Our reentry court legislation is working well. Our reentry programs are starting up. We're going to be purchasing about $3 million worth of equipment just to equip the schools, and we'll have schools for about 1,500 inmates in the 3 major prisons here.
Okay.
And we're doing that because it's more efficient. If you try to have a school different places, then you have double the cost. Just make a larger school and have it in one place and different things at different places. So that's kind of what's going on real good for us. One thing that's important, you may have a question, though.
No, I was just going to ask you, going to kind of pivot to personnel. I know that's just a major challenge that corrections has had, and latest data I saw, it's been a few months, it looks like we were down quite a bit in terms of the number of custody officers and other personnel necessary to operate corrections. What's going on there?
Well, I have to commend the governor big time. Also the lieutenant governor and the legislature, because they did equip us with the 2 we needed, money, so we could hire people. And we had learned that with Probation Pro. You have to be in the 30s pretty much to hire someone. So anyway, we do have now mobile offices. We have high pay, we think. We can start someone with at $30,500 if he doesn't even have a high school diploma, because we need the muscle and the eyes. So we open jobs for those. But if you have any experience at all, $32,000, college degree, $33,000 a year. So that's base pay. So we've already hired 130 people.
Wow.
And we did that even through the ice storm. So we have 7 mobile offices. We travel around the state, different areas, close to the prisons. And that way we can interview you one day and have you on the payroll the next. So we're going really fast. So one good thing about it, we have 700 of these jobs. This is important. If you had an industry coming into Mississippi with 700 jobs, you'd jump out and get after it. So that's what you have with us. And so we are filling those positions, men or women. It's working well either way. So we're very optimistic we can hire 500 by probably the next 3 months. Some people think we can't, but I believe we can. And that's going to get us where we really can be a stable prison system and move forward. Now, we have to train them. Take a little while to get that all done. We'll make some mistakes, have some issues here. But anyway, personnel is going to work out.
Well, what about the career for a correctional officer once they start? I think you talked about the starting pay. What kind of career path do they have after that?
I did, and once you start, you're going to get a raise in 18 months. Actually 6 months, and then 18 months, and you actually have a career path so that when you've been there probably 5 years, you'll be at $40,000.
Okay.
So it's a good career path. But if you look at the starting pay and add the benefits, which is the retirement system, the insurance, and so forth, that job's worth about $42,000. It's a starting pay.
And so is this putting us more in line, certainly with the neighboring states, Commissioner?
It is. That is absolutely in line with Alabama, who had the consent decree in the Justice Department. So we wanted to be like them because that's what they mandated over there. So we want to be ahead of the Justice Department. We don't want a consent decree. That'll cost us too much money. So that's what we're doing, is trying to be in compliance with all the federal regulations and so forth.
Yeah. And it's been a problem, right? It's been difficult to recruit under the old model. Didn't pay enough, and certainly couldn't compete with a lot of other jobs in our neighboring states for similar positions.
Well, to call it like it is, we were doing a poor job in the way we managed people, because people want to come to work and not be talked to, poorly, and they want to be treated right, and
Sure.
They want to be corrected, but they want to be corrected properly and not fussed at or screamed at.
Sure.
People's not going to work in that environment, and we had too much of that in the past. We're putting our signs up right now, no profanity, we got to be quiet, got to calm down, and we have been training our middle-level management, Dale Carnegie-type training, how to win friends, influence people, how to treat people. Because we were doing exit interviews and finding people were leaving not so much because of pay, but because of how they were treated.
Interesting. And, lots of studies through the years, as I'm sure you know, Commissioner, say that most people, they sort of determine the quality of their work environment based on their direct boss, who they report to, and how they're treated by that individual. It's all part of the environment and the culture. So I assume then that goes into some of the enhancements that you're making in the environment.
It's definitely no use to hire them if we're going to run them off.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be doing real big-time exit interviews on anybody we lose. And our goal is to keep people, retrain them, and retrain them, and retrain them until they become really cool and good in their job, not just run them off on the first offense.
Yeah, and the turnover is so expensive, as you know, is backfilling and going back through the training and replenishing when you lose somebody and you've invested so much in them. It's cost us all money.
Well, one thing we're going to do, we're going to have a 2-month forgiveness period once we hire you. We're going to expect you to make mistakes, and you are, and even if it's bad mistakes, we're still not going to fire you.
Yeah.
We're going to train you for 2 months to try to get you right. But in the past, first mistake, boom, you're out of here.
I got you. And, of course, by increasing the compensation package, hopefully you're able to recruit and retain higher quality people as part of that,
We
too.
are, and we're the 3 places. For instance, tomorrow we have buses that's going to be not buses, mobile offices, and they're going to be one at Bass Pro Shop, one down at Pearl, and we got them at Lucedale, we got them at Richton, we got them in Clarksdale, and so we spread all out all over the state, and we keep moving, and we announce on social media where we're going to be.
So let's talk about what we truly want to achieve in society is empty prisons, frankly, and that we don't have anybody breaking the law. That's what we'd like to get to. And I think, all the statistics and the data sort of points to the high rate of recidivism, which is just expensive to society in more than just financial terms. What are we doing, Commissioner, to try to ensure that when people serve, they get out, they're able to get jobs, be productive members of society, and most importantly, don't break the law anymore?
Give example. One of the pieces of equipment we're buying is a Hunter front-end machine. It costs about $24,000, and so we're going to have inmates that are certified, ASE certified on these machines, which means they can do warranty work. And so therefore, for the Goodyear store, places like that, to do front-end work, alignment work, that's a great job. So that's one of the skills we'll be training. Plus,
and in demand, those jobs are.
In demand, and it's going to be where that you can go to the dealership or any mechanic shop. You're going to have a certification. They don't have to worry about can you do the job, and it's a good paying job. And for instance, in air conditioning, in your car air conditioning,
Yeah.
transmission, we'll have a transmission, a whole car with all these tools and so forth to train people how to operate and do that. And we won't be a mechanic. You'll be a specified mechanic in a certain field. And so that's how we're going to do it, so that they really are specialized and can get jobs.
It's critical because that's what employers want, is those specialties like that, and they're willing to pay more for it when they have those certifications, for sure. What about moral rehabilitation?
That's a really good question, because we can teach you skills and trades, but if we don't teach you morality and change your heart, you're just a smarter criminal.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. And so we were breaking ground on our first church at Parchment. Our seminary at Parchment has 46 students right now, and in 2 years we'll have associate degree. We'll start using some of those there. The rest of them will work on to get the 4-year degree, accredited like Ole Miss, Mississippi State. And so that's working well. And the women, we have 29 women in their seminary.
Wow.
Out at the women's prison. And let's speak about the women a minute. We're going to have probably one of the best and largest beauty schools in the state at the women's prison.
Wow, that's cool.
And we're going to also have welding school. We'll have 75 slots for women to learn to weld. We're going to have a forklift operating school. They'll have simulators so they can play on the forklift.
We got to take a break. Can you hang with us, Commissioner?
I can.
Sounds good. We'll be back. So, Commissioner, we were talking during the break. You mentioned the base pay, which is just the salary that a corrections officer would receive, but we really need to also consider the total compensation package, as everybody really should when they look at how they get paid and how they are compensated. There's a lot more to it than just salary.
It is. For instance, single people, we give one insurance for free, health insurance. So if you're single, you don't have to worry about health insurance. So that's free. That's a big deal. And that package on the $33,000 job is worth about $50,000 when you look at the retirement system, which is 9% they're giving you. The health insurance, if you have family, you can include them, and then they pay everything else for you up to all the benefits. So it's really a good job. It's a career. It's not something you want to come and leave. You want to stick with it and get to retirement because it's really good there.
Yeah, and had also a listener that just pointed out that the $15 minimum wage, if Joe Biden and the Democrats had their way at the federal level, would be $31,200 a year. That's absolutely true, except just keep in mind it doesn't start at $15 immediately. That $15 minimum wage would be phased in over, I think, 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. So I got to believe that will all be taken into consideration as you guys constantly reevaluate your pay scales and have to adjust to market conditions and wages and so forth. And that's what we depend on. The legislature and the governor has to be involved in that as well. It's a budgetary matter. There's
plenty of correctional officers making in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
And so 4 years you'll be where Biden has them at 15, you'll be at 40,000.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, appreciate that. And so you were talking before we went to the break. By the way, one of the listeners wanted to let you know that the offenders incarcerated at Angola make really good peanut butter cookies. And what did you tell me, Commissioner? Chocolate chip as well, right?
Chocolate chip as well, and they're really good, and they are. We're going to be making good cookies here because we're going to have our kitchen operations April the 1st. And one reason is so we can have cookies because when they go to church, everybody that leaves church gets a cookie.
Yeah.
And the cookie's kind of bait.
Yeah.
But you might get caught while you're in there, so that's good. So we want to get them in the church. And the first church will be built at Parchment. We're building 3 churches this year, but we'll build a total of 9 in the next 3 years.
Okay.
And they're big churches. They're 6,400 square feet.
Awesome.
Right.
So you got to believe that would be a critical part of moral rehabilitation too, right? I mean, I'm sure.
It is.
Yeah.
We coined that term moral rehabilitation at Angola because we realized 4 things: good food, good medicine, good playing, good praying. You have a good prison.
Yeah.
Any one of those falls short, then you're going to wreck. So we want to be sure we have those components.
Interesting philosophy. I like it. It's good. So we also had, I think, Paul in Greenville asked the question about whether or not military service would be a factor in determining pay. How would that work?
That would be one of the factors that would entitle you to the $33,000 starting pay.
Okay.
Along with the college degree, it would do that. And by the way, our mobile office is at Senator's Place in Cleveland today, and it'll be there till 4 o'clock this evening. So if you're looking for a job, go to Senator's Place, and you'll see our mobile office.
Gotcha. What about the prison rodeo? We got another question about that. We going to get that going?
The prison rodeo can happen when we get control of the prison and get the violence down, which we are. It's really coming down. But the inmates have to be worthy to commingle with the people and the public before we can have the rodeo. They know that, so they better behave.
Yeah. Well, and I also along those lines, want to ask you about this concept of dismembering gangs. Gangs exist. I think a lot of people aren't aware of that inside the walls of a correctional institution. They do. And there's contact with the outside world, of course, and I think there's lots of bad stuff, lots of bullying, I guess, that occurs when they sort of combine their forces inside the prisons. What are you guys doing to try to quell that?
Well, one thing, I didn't have any gangs at Angola, no gangs. Therefore, the governor insisted that we work hard to not have any gangs here when he hired me.
Yeah.
And so that's a big deal to him. And so we're going to meet that mandate, and I don't think we're going to have any gangs because we're going to have other things for them to belong to, like church and different churches and different associations and organizations, and having concessions and so forth in the prison where inmates can be in groups themselves that are constructive groups but not negative groups, because everybody wants to belong to something. You go to church, your preacher you could consider in one way, well, he's the leader. So in prison, if we have in church, then there'll be an inmate pastor, and he'll be the leader.
Yeah.
That's why we have a seminary.
Right. Is there any plans in terms of facilities, physical facilities now, renovating any of those, perhaps adding or subtracting or consolidating, any plans whatsoever on the facilities front?
The bid opens in about 2 weeks to air-conditioned Parchman. I said that on Gallo back in the fall. And so we're going to do that. And also the bid opens for new showers and so forth at Parchman. But no, you said it earlier. We wonder when we're not going to have so many prisoners. So when we do the reentry program and the moral program, the recidivism is going to plummet. So I do look for us to drop in population. So I don't think that we need to be building anything new. We can make it, save our money, save our dollars, have less people in prison. But what that means is less crime victims.
Yeah.
Now, one thing we did, we met with Mr. Pickett, parole board, and they're not going to be paroling anybody that's in a gang, because why would we parole someone out of prison that's in a gang that's corrupt, violent, and chaotic, and strong arms and so forth? Why would we do that? So he's not going to be releasing any gang members back into the public on parole.
Do you have any thoughts, Commissioner, about some of the criminal justice reform efforts that are certainly happened to a great degree under the Trump administration? There's been some legislation enacted here in Mississippi along those lines. You're so close to it, obviously, being the commissioner, and is there anything you'd like to see happen along those lines?
Yes. We have all these reform issues, but we don't have as much morality in the reform packages. They're just focusing on skills and trades or different things, and anger management, cage your rage, celebrate recovery. But we have to have more morality, more religion, but it doesn't matter which religion. We don't promote that. Sure. Just more morality. We find morality quickest in religion. That's the weak link that we will not have in Mississippi.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts, I guess, or perhaps recommendations for those making law in the state with respect to sentencing standards?
We do, and I talk to them. The issue is, last year we were 87 probation parole offers short. This year we're 0. All our probation parole slots are filled. We fill that first. We have strong tactical teams now that are probation parole officers, but we have to have the reentry programs in place and be creating these jobs, skills, so that they can be employable, because if you just release people with nowhere to go and no work or anything like that, they're going to have to almost recidivate to get a grub stake. You know what I mean? How you going to live? Yeah. And so we'll be in a better position a little bit longer than now to really make a difference.
You said something off the air, Commissioner, about either recent or coming installation of video surveillance cameras. What other investments are you making in technology to kind of make the department more efficient?
We have installed over 900 high-definition cameras with artificial intelligence throughout our system. And so we have tremendous scanners. They were hitting the price of about $200,000 a piece, but we can see what you're bringing in. And so we have that. And it was just like, we believe in technology big time. That's why with COVID that we spent more money on prevention than we did on testing. And it turns out that we had the lowest number of deaths in the whole country almost with COVID. And so that's what we're doing in our prison. We're spending our money on technology so that we can do a better job. But it's not, and the other thing is, our attitude is we're not oppressive. We don't want our staff to be oppressive. You can't create reentry and teach people to behave and be good if you're being mean to them. Sure. So we want our staff to not be oppressive in that environment.
Have you been pleased with the governor and the legislature? I know you've already made a comment about that. Is there anything in particular that you're looking for from the legislature in the way of funding or changing law reforms and so forth? Anything that's kind of top of your mind there?
I have to tell you, with the budget and so forth, the money, the lieutenant governor has done us really a great job, and his staff, and also the chairman of the committees and the criminal justice committees too, Senator Bonnet and Representative Horan has done great for us, but a lot of them have, and everybody has, and we've been equipped with everything we need to have a really good Department of Corrections, and starting with the governor, and we really appreciate him. It's good to work for somebody that really supports what he asks you to do.
Glad to have you in the state, Commissioner. Looks like you've made a lot of changes in a short period of time that I think will benefit Mississippians, and we appreciate you coming in today, sir.
Well, thank you so much. At my age, I don't buy green bananas. I got to hurry.
Yes, sir. I understand. Commissioner Burl Cain from the Mississippi Department of Corrections. We'll take a break right here. We'll come back with more talk on the JT.